Hello to you all from the Rosenbach Museum and Library in beautiful Center City, Philadelphia. I'm Robert Berry, and I'll be reading to you from the second chapter of Ulysses, referred to as Nestor. It's about 183 lines, in which we will find out just what a horrible teacher Stephen Dedalus can be. You, Cochrane, what city sent for him? Tarentum, sir. Very good. Well, there was a battle, sir. Very good. Where? The boy's blank face asked the blank window, fabled by the daughters of memory. And yet it was in some way, if not as memory fabled it, a phrase then of impatience, thud of Blake's wings of excess. I hear the ruin of all space, shattered glass and toppling masonry, and time one livid final flame. What's left us then? I forget the place, sir. 279 BC? Asculum, Stephen said, glancing at the name and date in the Gorsgard book. Yes, sir, he said. Another victory like that, and we're done for. That phrase the world had remembered. A dull ease of the mind. From a hill, above a corpse-strewn plain of generals speaking to his officers, leaned upon his spear. Any general to any officers, they lend an ear. You, Armstrong, Stephen said. What was the end of Pyrrhus? End of Pyrrhus, sir? I know, sir. Ask me, Common said. Wait. You, Armstrong, do you know anything about Pyrrhus? A bag of fig rolls lay snugly in Armstrong's satchel. He curled them between his palms at whiles and swallowed them softly. Crumbs adhered to the tissues of his lips. A sweetened boy's breath. Well-off people, proud that their eldest son was in the Navy. Vico wrote, Dalkey. Pyrrhus, sir. Pyrrhus, a pier. All laughed. Mirthless, high, malicious laughter. Armstrong looked round at his classmates, silly glee and profile. In a moment, they will laugh more loudly, aware of my lack of rule and of the fees their papas pay. Tell me now, Stephen said, poking the boy's shoulder with the book. What is a pier? A pier, sir? Armstrong said. A thing out in the water, a kind of a bridge. Kingstown Pier, sir. Some laughed again, mirthless but with meaning. Two in the back bench whispered, yes, they knew. Had never learned nor ever been innocent, all. With envy he watched their faces, Edith, Ethel, Gertie, Lily, their likes, their breaths too, sweetened with tea and jam, their bracelets tittering in the struggle. Kingstown Pier, Stephen said. Yes, a disappointed bridge. The words troubled their gaze. How, sir? Croman asked. The bridge is across a river. For Haynes' chapbook. No one here to hear. Tonight, deftly amid wild drink and talk, to pierce the polished mail of his mind. What then? A jester at the court of his master, indulged and disesteemed, winning a clement master's praise. Why had they chosen all that part? Not wholly for the smooth caress. For them, too, history was a tale like any other often heard, their land a pawnshop. Had Pyrrhus not fallen by a Bedlam's hand in Argos, or Julius Caesar not been knifed to death, they are not to be thought away. Time has braided them, and fettered they are lodged in the room of infinite possibilities they've ousted. But can those have been possible, seeing that they never were? Or was that only possible, which came to pass? Weave, weaver of the wind. Tell us a story, sir. Oh, do, sir, a ghost story. Where do you begin in this? Stephen asked, opening another book. Weep no more, Common said. Go on then, tell it. And the story, sir? After, Stephen said. Go on, tell it. A swarthy boy opened a book and propped it nimbly under the breastwork of his satchel. He recited jerks of verse with odd glances, the text. Weep no more, woeful shepherds, weep no more, for Lycidas your sorrow is not dead, sunk though he be beneath the watery floor. It must be a movement then, an actuality of the possible as possible. Aristotle's phrase formed itself within the Gabler verses and floated out into the studious silence of the library of St. Genevieve, where he had read, sheltered from the sins of Paris, night by night. By his elbow, a delicate Siamese combed handbook of strategy, fed and feeding brains about me, under glow lamps impaled with faintly beating feelers, and in my mind's darkness, a sloth of the underworld, reluctant, shy of brightness, shifting her dragon's scaly folds. Thought is the thought of thought, tranquil brightness. The soul is, in a manner, all that is. The soul is the form of forms, tranquility, sudden, vast, candescent form of forms. Talbot repeated, through the dear might of him that walked the waves, through the dear might. Turn over, Stephen said quietly. I don't see a thing. What, sir? Talbot asked simply, bending forward. His hand turned the page over. He leaned back and went on again, having just remembered. Of him that walked the waves. Here also these craven hearts, his shadow lies, and on the scoffer's heart and lips, and on mine. It lies upon their eager faces, who offered him a coin of the tribute. To Caesar, what is Caesar's, to God's, what is God's, and to long look from dark eyes, a riddling sentence to be woven and woven on the church's lips. Aye, riddle me, Randy Rowe. My father gave me seeds to sow. Talbot slid his closed book into the satchel. Have I heard all? Stephen asked. Yes, sir. Hockey at 10, sir. Half day, sir. Thursday. Who can answer a riddle? Stephen asked. They bundled their books away, pencils clacking, pages rustling, crowding together. They strapped and buckled their satchels, and all gabbling gaily. A riddle, sir. Oh, ask me, sir. Oh, ask me, sir. A hard one, sir. This is the riddle, Stephen said. The cock crew. The sky was blue. The bells in heaven were striking 11. 'Tis time for this poor soul to go to heaven. What is that? What, sir? Again, sir, we didn't hear. Their eyes grew bigger as their lines were repeated. After a silence, Cochran said, what is it, sir? We give it up. Stephen, his throat itching, answered, the fox bearing her grandmother under a holly bush. He stood up and gave a shout of nervous laughter, to which their cries echoed dismay. A stick struck the door, and the voice in the corridor called, Hockey! They broke asunder, sidling out of their benches, leaping them. Quickly they were gone, and from the lumber room came the rattle of sticks and clamor of their boots and tongues. Sargent, who alone had lingered, came forward slowly, showing an open copybook. His thick hair and scraggy neck gave witness of unreadiness, and through his misty glasses, weak eyes looked up, pleading. On his cheek, dull and bloodless, a soft stain of ink lay, date-shaped, recent and damp as a snail's bed. He held out his copybook. The word sums was written on the headline. Beneath were sloping figures, and at the foot, a crooked signature with blind loops and a blot. Cyril Sargent, his name and seal. Mr. Deasy told me to write them out all again, he said, and show them to you, sir. Stephen touched the edge of the book. Futility. Do you understand how to do them now? He asked. Numbers 11 to 15, Sargent answered. Mr. Deasy said I was to copy them off the board, sir. Can you do them yourself? Stephen asked. No, sir. Ugly and futile. Lean neck and thick hair and a stain of ink, the snail's bed. Yet someone had loved him, borne him in her arms and in her heart. But for her, the race of the world would have trampled him underfoot, a squashed, boneless snail. She had loved his weak, watery blood drained from her own. Was that then real? The only true thing in life? His mother's prostrate body, the fiery Columbanus and holy zeal bestrode. She was no more. The trembling skeleton of a twig burnt in the fire, an odor of rosewood and wetted ashes. She'd saved him from being trampled underfoot and had gone, scarcely having been. A poor soul gone to heaven. And on a heath beneath winking stars, a fox, red reek of rapine in his fur, with merciless bright eyes, scraped the earth, listened, scraped up the earth, listened, scraped, scraped. Sitting at his side, Stephen solved out the problem. He proved by algebra that Shakespeare's ghost is Hamlet's grandfather. Sergeant peered askance through his slanted glasses. Hockey sticks rattled in the lumber room, the hollow knock of a ball and calls from the field. Across the page, the symbols moved engraved Morris in the mummery of their letters, wearing quaint caps of squares and cubes. Give hands, traverse, about to partner. So imps of fancy of the Moors, gone too from the world, Averos and Moses Maimondes, dark men in mien and movement, flashing in their mocking mirrors the obscure soul of the world, a darkness shining in brightness, which brightness could not comprehend. Do you understand now? Can you work the second for yourself? Yes, sir. In long, shaky strokes, Sergeant copied the data. Waiting for a word of help, his hand moved faithfully, the unsteady symbols, a faint hue of shame flickering behind his dull skin. Amor matris, subjective and objective genitive. With her weak blood and way-sour milk, she had fed him and hid from sight of others his swaddling bands. Like him was I, these sloping shoulders, this gracelessness. My childhood bends beside me. Too far for me to lay a hand there once or lightly. Mine is far, and his secret as our eyes. Secrets silent, stony, sit in the dark palaces of both our hearts. Secrets weary of their tyranny, tyrants willing to be dethroned. The sum was done. It is very simple, Stephen said as he stood up. Yes, sir. Thanks, Sergeant answered. He dried the page with a sheet of thin blotting paper and carried his copybook back to his bench. You'd better get your stick and go out to the others, Stephen said as he followed towards the door of the boy's graceless form. Yes, sir. In the corridor, his name was heard, called from the playfield. Sergeant! Run on, Stephen said. Mr. Deasy is calling you. Stay safe wherever you are, and a happy Bloomsday to each of you from Philadelphia.